I never thought my own family would cut me out of Christmas, not for something I did, but for who I am. But the night my mother told me I wasn't welcome because my sister wanted a perfect image, something inside me broke. And something far more dangerous woke up. Before we start, I want to wish every one of you a peaceful, warm, and joyful Christmas season. I hope you're surrounded by people who see your worth, who choose you, not the version of you they want to display. And now, here's what happened the night my family decided their holiday picture was more important than their daughter. My name is Keely Archer. I'm 29, and I live in Frostbridge, Colorado, a small mountain town that looks like a Christmas postcard the moment December hits. Snow piles on rooftops, wreaths hang from every porch, and the entire main street glows under strings of warm amber lights. But that night, none of it felt magical. I was standing alone in my cold garage, Northline Auto, my hands still smeared with engine grease, breath fogging in the air, when my phone buzzed. Mom's voice slipped through the speaker, soft but sharp enough to cut. "Sweetheart," she said, "your sister wants her boyfriend to make a perfect first impression this year. And, well, having you there might make things a little complicated." I stared at the concrete floor as her words echoed inside me. "Complicated," I repeated quietly. She exhaled as if I should understand. "You know Lena works in PR. Her image is everything. The Christmas dinner has to look polished, refined, no distractions. I hope you're mature enough to understand." By distraction, she meant me. My work boots, my oil-stained jacket, my life that didn't fit into their curated holiday aesthetic. I swallowed hard. "So, I'm not invited?" A beat of silence. "It's just one Christmas, Keely. Don't make this dramatic." But it wasn't just one. It was every holiday where I'd become useful but invisible, fixing their roof, paying their overdue bills, driving across town at midnight to rescue Lena when she dented her car. Every year, I stood behind the camera while they took perfect holiday photos. Every year, I was the one helping, not the one belonging. "All right," I whispered, and I hung up before my voice could crack. The wind howled outside, rattling the metal garage door. My breath shivered as I stood there, phone still in hand, neon lights flickering overhead. Snow whirled past the windows in spirals of white, settling on the Christmas lights of the house across the street. Families laughing, clinking mugs, decorating trees together. I had never felt farther from that world. For a long time, I didn't move. Then a thought surfaced, a sharp, cold one that surprised me. What if I didn't include them in my Christmas either? I wiped my hands on a rag, turned off the lights, and stepped into the falling snow outside. The sky was glowing orange from the holiday lights around town. I could smell pine needles, cinnamon from the bakery down the street, firewood burning in distant chimneys. It should have felt comforting, but all I felt was a hollow ache. I walked past houses with glowing trees in the windows, families gathering around tables, silhouettes hanging stockings. I wondered how many of those houses held someone who felt like me, present but unseen, needed but unappreciated, loved only when convenient. But by the time I reached my small apartment behind the garage, my fingers were numb and my heart felt strangely heavy. I turned on the string lights over my window. They flickered weakly, cheap, mismatched bulbs I bought at a thrift shop, but the tiny yellow lights gave off a kind warmth anyway. I sat on my couch, staring at the tree I'd decorated alone, a small plastic one, wobbling slightly because one of the legs was missing. I should have cried, maybe. I should have felt angry. But what settled over me instead was a quiet, unexpected clarity. If they don't want me there, I thought, maybe I deserve a Christmas where I'm not the embarrassing one. Maybe I deserve a Christmas where I'm chosen, snow tapped softly against the window. Outside, a family laughed as they carried a freshly cut tree inside. I whispered into the empty room, "I'll build my own Christmas this year. And maybe it'll finally feel like mine." But I had no idea then, no idea at all, that this one small decision would shake my entire family. Nisi, and expose the truth of who they really were. Because the next morning, they came pounding on my door, furious, and what my sister's boyfriend said changed everything. I didn't sleep much that night. My mind kept replaying the sound of my mother's voice, telling me I was too messy for their Christmas table. By dawn, the snow outside had thickened into white curtains, swirling around the strings of lights I'd taped above my garage door. The whole town looked like a snow globe someone had just shaken. I had barely pulled on a sweatshirt when a violent pounding rattled my front door. At first, I thought it was just the wind slamming something loose. But then it came again. Harder, sharper. Voices bled through the wood, familiar ones. My stomach dropped. I opened the door. There they were, my entire family, standing on my porch as if summoned by a storm. Mom, wrapped in a pristine red wool coat. Dad, jaw clenched, snow caught in his graying beard. Lena, immaculate in a white winter jacket that hadn't seen a speck of dirt in its lifetime. And beside her, Colton Reeves, her polished, perfect Christmas card boyfriend. None of them said Merry Christmas. Not even a hello. Wow, Mom snapped, brushing snow off her coat like my simple doorway had offended her. You've really done it this time, I blinked. Good morning to you too. Don't play innocent, she hissed. Your grandmother called us last night asking why you weren't invited. Do you have any idea how humiliated we felt? Humiliated, the same word she used about me. The same word she weaponized every time I didn't fit her shiny family portrait. Dad stepped forward, shaking his head like he'd rehearsed disappointment in the mirror. You always twist things, Keely. Always trying to make us look like the villains. I didn't tell anyone anything, I said calmly. Grandma must have noticed I wasn't on the guest list. Don't be clever, Mom snapped. You know how important Lena's image is right now. Lena rolled her eyes toward me, gaze dripping disdain. Even in the freezing cold, she somehow managed to look like a luxury ad. Smooth curls, flawless makeup, not a hair out of place despite the snowflakes melting on her coat. This was supposed to be a stress-free holiday, she said. But no, you had to make everything dramatic. I almost laughed. Dramatic? They uninvited me from Christmas. I didn't say a word to anyone, I repeated. Dad scoffed. You're impossible. Then something unexpected happened. Colton, who'd been standing quietly with his hands in his pockets, looked at me again. Really looked. His brows lifted ever so slightly. Wait, he said. Are you Keely Archer? I froze. Yes? He stepped closer, eyes widening with recognition. Keely Archer as in the woman who restored that 1970 Dodge Charger? The metallic green one? The build everyone was talking about online? The porch fell dead silent. My breath caught, not because he recognized me, but because my own family had no idea what he was talking about. Lena blinked at him, confused. She just fixes cars. Colton shook his head immediately. No, she rebuilds them. That Charger was one of the cleanest restorations I've ever seen. The craftsmanship was insane. I followed her update posts for months. Months. He had followed my work for months. My parents exchanged baffled glances. Lena flushed red from her neck upward, like someone had yanked a rug from under her perfectly curated world. For the first time in years, someone from their world saw me. Really saw me, and they hated it. Mom recovered first. She straightened her posture, plastering on a brittle smile. Well, that's very nice, Colton, but it doesn't change why we're here. Doesn't change what? He asked, eyes narrowing. We need to discuss responsibilities, Dad said firmly, ignoring him. Our roof is leaking. She needs to come fix it. Today. Lena jumped in immediately. And I need money for the Christmas gala decor. I already told my team you'd help. It reflects on my brand, Keely. Don't make me look unprepared. I stared at her. You're asking me for money? After uninviting me? She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, don't mix everything together. This is separate. Separate. They wanted my labor, my money, my silence, but not me. Something inside me hardened. No, I said. A quiet, steady, grounded no. Lena blinked. What? I'm not fixing the roof. I'm not paying for your event. I'm not covering bills anymore. Mom gasped. Dad's face reddened. Lena stepped back like I'd struck her. Colton, on the other hand, let out a breath that looked almost like relief. He said softly, "Good for you." And that tiny sentence? It cracked the whole foundation of my family's control. Because for the first time, someone else could see what they'd been doing to me. Someone else finally recognized who I really was. And that was only the beginning. For a moment, no one spoke. Snowflakes drifted sideways in the wind, catching in the old string lights on my porch. The same $5 lights I'd bought years ago. My family looked so out of place there, like they'd stepped out of a glossy magazine and into a world they didn't respect enough to understand. Dad broke the silence first. The roof is leaking, he barked. We have guests coming for Christmas Eve. You need to come fix it today, before the damage gets worse. I stared at him. You uninvited me from Christmas, but you want me to show up and fix your roof? He waved it off like I'd asked a stupid question. Don't mix things together. This is about responsibility. Lena chimed in with her perfectly curated tone. And I need you to transfer the money for the decorations. The wreath wall fell through, and the rental company requires a deposit today. You know how important this gala is for my brand. Her brand, not Christmas, not family, not anything real, just image. My breath crystallized in the cold air as something heavy in my chest shifted, the way a stubborn bolt finally loosens after years of pressure. So let me get this straight, I said quietly. You don't want me at Christmas because I'm embarrassing, but you still want my labor. You still want my money. You still want me to clean up after you. Mom stepped forward, voice trembling with anger dressed as disappointment. Family helps family, Keely. Or have you forgotten that? I almost laughed. You mean I help you, constantly. But when have you helped me? When have you seen me as someone worth inviting? Dad's nostrils flared. We raised you. There it is, I whispered. The lifetime contract. Lena threw up her hands, snow falling off her sleeves. This is insane. You always help. Why are you choosing right now, right before the holidays, to make everything difficult? I'm not choosing the timing, I said. You did that when you cut me out. Mom's voice sharpened. Keely, stop this. Stop acting wounded. We made a simple request to keep things orderly for Lena's career. And I said no, I replied. I'm allowed to say no. Dad's face turned red. You owe us? No, I interrupted softly. I don't. And the word no came out steady, solid, like it had roots for the first time. Behind them, Colton shifted forward. His breath fogged between us, but his eyes were clear, sharper than I'd seen all morning. I'm sorry, he said slowly, looking from my parents to Lena. But, do you guys hear yourselves? Mom's head snapped toward him. This is none of your business. I'm dating your daughter, he said calmly. And all of you just told Keely she's not good enough to sit at your Christmas table, but she's good enough to fix your roof and fund your event? Lena gasped. Colton, whose side are you on? He didn't hesitate. I'm on the side of decency. The porch went silent again, the tension so thick the snow seemed afraid to fall. Mom's voice rose an octave. You're attacking us on our own doorstep? No, he said. I'm calling out something that should have been called out years ago. Dad muttered a curse under his breath. Lena's cheeks blazed. Mom sputtered. But none of it mattered anymore. Because something inside me had clicked into place. I said no, I repeated softly. And I mean it. I'm done fixing, paying, covering, and apologizing. I'm done being the family handyman/wallet. Mom's jaw dropped. You'll regret this. I shook my head. No, I regret letting it go on this long. Then, without another word, my parents stormed down the porch steps, snow crunching under their boots. Lena stomped after them, nearly slipping on the icy path. Colton hesitated a moment, almost like he wanted to say something, but then turned and followed. Their car door slammed, echoing down the quiet, snowy street. The headlights swept across my porch before the car rolled away, disappearing into the drifting white. The Christmas lights on my porch flickered, but for the first time, they felt warm. That night, as I swept snow away from the garage door, a new thought settled into my chest. Soft, steady, hopeful. If they don't want me at their Christmas, I'll make one of my own. Not for them, not to impress anyone, but for the people who had shown me more kindness in passing moments than my family had shown me in years. Mr. Hollis, my elderly neighbor, the teens who came to my garage on Saturdays to learn about engines, the woman from the shelter whose flat tire I'd fixed for free, the handful of people who actually saw me. This year, I would choose my table. I would choose my people. I would choose my Christmas. And for the first time in my life, that felt like freedom. I never imagined my little garage could look this warm. Snow hammered the tin roof of Northline Auto in heavy waves, but inside, the whole place glowed like a pocket of light carved out of winter. I'd strung the cheap gold lights across the rafters, hung paper snowflakes the teens had cut out earlier in the week, and set out mismatched plates on 2 long wooden tables I'd built myself from scrap lumber. Someone brought hot cocoa. Someone else brought gingerbread cookies shaped like stars, most of them lopsided, one with a missing arm, all perfect in their own way. Mr. Hollis, my elderly neighbor, sat at the head of one table, hands wrapped around a steaming mug as he told a story about delivering mail through a blizzard back in '78. The teens from the shelter argued over who burned their cookies the worst. Little Mariah darted between chairs waving a cookie shaped like a crooked shooting star. It wasn't polished. It wasn't curated. But for the first time in my life, I felt Christmas settle into me. Like I was finally sitting in a room where I belonged. I was reaching for another tray of cookies when the garage door jolted, hard enough to rattle the metal frame. Everyone froze. The next second, the door flew open, slammed back by a violent gust of wind. Snow exploded across the concrete floor. The warm air rushed out. And then, my family stormed in. Mom first, face red with fury. Dad behind her, fists clenched. Lena last, mascara streaked down her cheeks, breath sharp and uneven. They looked like three intruders who'd broken into a world they didn't recognize, and hated the fact that it was thriving without them. Mom pointed at me, as if accusing a criminal. "You humiliated us!" Her voice cracked across the garage like a whip. Conversations died instantly. Every face turned toward them. "You told people we didn't invite you," she spat. "Your relatives have been calling all day. Do you have any idea what they're saying? Do you know the shame you've brought onto this family?" I took a breath. I didn't tell anyone anything. Dad stepped forward, jabbing a finger in my direction. "You think you're better than us now? With your little garage and your following?" He said, following, like it tasted sour. Then Lena shoved between them, tears streaking through her carefully done makeup. "Colton left," she cried. "He walked out of Christmas dinner. He said he needed space from my family, and from me." She glared at me with a pain so sharp it bordered on hatred. "This is your fault. You turned him against me." A murmur rippled through the garage. The teens shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Hollis slowly stood with his cane. Tasha reached for little Mariah's shoulders, pulling her closer. "I didn't make him leave," I said softly. "Yes, you did," Lena shrieked. "You always ruin everything. You made him see us differently." Before I could answer, a quiet voice came from behind them. "No," he said. "She didn't." We all turned. Colton stood in the open doorway, snow dusting his coat, cheeks flushed from the cold. He stepped inside, brushing snow from his shoulders as he faced Lena. "Why are you here?" Lena choked out. Colton's eyes swept over her, then over my parents, then finally landed on me. "Because," he said, "I wanted to be somewhere real tonight." The room held its breath. "Your sister built something here, Lena," he continued, "something full of kindness and community, and you—" He paused, voice thinning with truth. "You never appreciated who she is." Mom gasped like he'd slapped her. "Excuse me?" Colton didn't look away. "I'm sorry, but the way your family treats her? It's wrong. It's been wrong for a long time." Dad scoffed, face flushed. "We're her family, not you." Colton met his glare. "Family doesn't treat someone like a utility." A wave of silence rolled across the garage, heavy and unignorable. Mom's voice rose again, trembling with outrage. "Keely, tell him he's wrong. Tell him you didn't fix our roof, pay our bills, handle everything." Dozens of eyes turned to me. My heart beat once, twice. Then I stepped toward my workbench, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out the brown envelope I'd hidden weeks ago. "These," I said quietly, holding it up, "are the payments." Inside were receipts, bank statements, scribbled notes, years' worth of the invisible work I'd done to keep their lives clean, while mine was covered in grease. Dad snatched the envelope, smirking like he expected nothing but lies. But as he unfolded each page, the color drained from his face. Mom's lips parted in horror. Lena's shoulders curled inward. "You kept track?" Mom whispered. "No," I said. "I kept boundaries. You never noticed them until now." Their world, built on denial, fractured visibly. "You'll regret this," Dad growled. "No," I said. "I regret letting it go on this long." Lena turned to Colton, voice cracking. "Please, come home. This isn't who we are." Colton shook his head gently. "It's exactly who you've always been. I just didn't see it." Mom's breath shuddered. Dad muttered curses. Their shoulders slumped, shrinking against the doorway's glow. Behind me, my garage, the place I had built, The community I had chosen felt warmer than ever. I walked to the garage door, pulled it open wider, and stepped aside. "Leave," I said, and for the first time in my life, they listened. For a long moment, no one in the garage breathed. My mother's voice had risen to a pitch I'd heard all my life, sharp enough to cut, desperate enough to control. "Keely," she hissed, "tell him you didn't do all that. Tell him you're exaggerating. Tell him we didn't rely on you for every little thing." But I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself with words anymore. Words had never meant anything to them unless they could twist them. So instead, I walked calmly to my workbench, the same bench where I built engines, fixed parts, and repaired things other people thought were beyond saving. From the bottom drawer, I pulled out the brown envelope I'd kept hidden for months. I didn't prepare it to prove anything. I prepared it so I wouldn't forget myself again. "This," I said, holding it out, "is everything." Dad snatched it from my hand, smirking like he was about to expose me as a liar. But the moment he unfolded the first page, the smirk collapsed. Insurance premiums I'd covered, late fees I'd paid before they damaged their credit, roof repairs disguised as little favors, emergency charges, water bills, new tires, plumbing fixes. Years of invisible labor, documented quietly because no one else would. Mom covered her mouth. Lena's eyes darted over each line like she couldn't recognize the numbers, or the sister staring back at her. "You kept track?" Mom whispered. "No," I said. "I kept boundaries. You just never noticed them until tonight." Silence cracked open the room. Even the wind outside seemed to pause. Dad's voice trembled with anger he no longer had the power to hide behind. "You're unbelievable. We raised you. We fed you. You owe us respect." I met his gaze without shaking. "I owe you honesty, and here it is. I'm done." The words fell out steady and warm, like truth finally finding the air it deserved. Lena lunged forward, mascara streaks cutting through her makeup. "You ruined everything!" she screamed. "Colton left because of you. You poisoned him!" Before I could respond, Colton stepped between us, his coat still dusted with snow. "Stop it," he said firmly. "Stop blaming her for choices you made long before tonight." Lena stared at him like she'd never seen him before. Mom reached for the papers again, as if she could tear the truth apart with her hands. "No one will believe this. No one will believe you." I gestured around the warm garage. Mr. Hollis, the teens, Tasha with Mariah in her lap. "They already do." Dad's face crumpled in fury. "You'll regret this, Keely." I shook my head slowly. "No. I regret letting it continue for this long." That was when I walked to the garage door, pulled it open wide, and let the cold air sweep in. Snow swirled like glitter under the Christmas lights outside, soft and bright and silent. "Leave," I said. A single word, a single freedom, and this time, they listened. My parents and Lena stepped back into the night, shrinking into silhouettes swallowed by the falling snow. For the first time, their absence didn't hurt. It felt like the air was clearing. Inside the garage, something shifted. People exhaled. The tension lifted like a fog burned away by morning light. Conversations restarted softly, then grew louder. Laughter returned, hesitant at first, then genuine, like a wound beginning to close. Colton stayed to help clean up. He packed leftovers for the teens, walked Mr. Hollis to his car, and when he finally turned to me at the doorway, he rested a warm, steady hand on my shoulder. "You built something good here," he said. "Don't let anyone take it from you." When he left, the garage felt quiet but full. Not empty, full. In the days that followed, the silence from my parents wasn't punishment anymore. It was space. Space to breathe, space to live, space to grow into the person I should have been allowed to be all along. Work at the garage picked up. The kids came back for Saturday lessons. Tasha brought me a handwritten Christmas card. Even the winter sun looked kinder through my windows. And then, a year passed. I stood outside my garage again on Christmas Eve, snow drifting across the lot, warm lights glowing behind me. My life wasn't perfect, not even close, but it was finally mine, steady, chosen, earned. I no longer chased a seat at a table that didn't want me. I built my own table, and somehow, beautifully, it filled itself. Before we end this story, I want to wish you a warm, peaceful, and joyful Christmas once more. May you spend it next to people who see your worth, truly see it. Tell me, how are you spending your Christmas this year? Who are you choosing to sit beside? And if you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next stories shared by other incredible women finding their strength. Merry Christmas. You deserve a gentle one.